can guarantee that. Whether you're casting her, cheating her, reanimating her, it seems like Elishnar is extremely powerful in the cube. Um, but like I said, put in a bind. Like I first pick cards like Revelark, um, Balance, Land Tax, um, Elspeth, and the right card. I don't know any other cards that you. Oh, and actually, and to be honest, if for whatever reason I feel like I want to draft that White Weenie deck. Any of the White Weenie cards are first pickable because you just want as many of those as you can.
Hmm.
If you could get the entirety of the stack of 1 and 2 and 3 drops of the White Weenie deck, your deck would be really good.
Hmm.
Even if your opponent's doing dumb stuff that costs 6 mana. I also have, I don't know if it'll get to there, like, can you see this stack right here?
Yeah, like
And
I can't really
yeah,
make out
I mean,
any
you can't tell
names,
each
but
card. These are all the white multicolored cards,
hmm,
and there's some really good cards here, but it's hard to first pick these, I think, just
yeah,
because
go
obviously
and
you don't
pick
want to
one.
make color
Let's look at
commitment.
them.
But I want to point out like some important ones, like Stillman Cavalier is a good white. It's a white card, also a black card. So,
Hmm.
so that's I don't think I would first pick it, but it's a really good card. Now I could see an argument for first picking Sorin, Lord of Innistrad. And there's so many cards that not necessarily every pack is going to have something that's better than Sorin,
Hmm.
and because he's really dumb.
Yeah, like I'm gonna be curious to see how a big cube like this plays out, because I can't see all these cards in here, but with 720, there's got to be some chaff, you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah. Go ahead.
playing with a tighter cube, like a 540 card cube or 360 card cube where it's just meant for 8 people, and you see every card, or I guess you don't see, what I mean. Every card gets opened, and every card's going to get at least thought about. Um, you can sort of like plan on having to interact with everything else, and in this one, if you let's see, like I really don't know how good Lingering Souls is because it wasn't in any of the cubes that I played with versus like Revelark plus like Ranger Vios or something.
Right, but I mean,
Um,
it's probably about as good as Spectral Procession.
yeah, okay.
I would
I
say.
mean, yeah, yeah. It's like another dude, and you get to play over 2 turns. I mean, I think Lingering Souls is probably better than Spectral Procession, in in certain decks. Like if you've got the kind of like black removal edge where you can take out and like mitigate somebody's earlier game plans with like a Doomblade or a Go for the Throat or Disfigure or Inquisition or something like that. Um, and then curve out with like Lingering Souls, and then plan on doing like Lingering Souls plus another Doomblade or something like that. Um, I think that's a better situation than Spectral Procession, but having 3 power, in 3 pieces on turn 3 isn't too bad either. It's a good
Yeah.
Snapcaster target.
Yeah, fair enough. I'd say that, like, looking at the multicolored stack here, the green-white stack of cards is mostly, like, dudes.
Hmm.
It's Kitchen Finks,
Yeah.
a Hierarch, Knight of the Reliquary, Behemoth Sledge, which is like a prime equipment, and Kosali Prime Mage. So like these are legacy good, the Maverick deck, the all the legacy green white cards. Um, so if your strategy is coming around to the green white deck, I mean these are cards that, especially cards like the Kitchen Finks and I'd say the Knight of the Reliquary are cards you want to pick really high, because they're really good cards at what they do. Again, the beauty of multicolor mana, that they allow, because of the constraint of having to use more than one color to cast it, they up the power of the card. Viewer and Druid says Lingering Souls is way better than Spectral. Again, I haven't played with it in the cube, but I'm not. I wouldn't be surprised if it's way better.
Yeah, it's
Sure.
got to be sweet. It's gotta be really good.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, to me, it seems like white is fairly straightforward. It's small guys, removal effects, um, and planeswalkers. I mean, is mostly it. And then even the multicolor cards, I think, follow that pattern. Um, some of the cards that stand out to me are cards like Angelic Destiny, which is like a blowout card. If because assuming you play it right, which is when your opponent's tapped out, and you just hit him for at least 5 in the air, and now you got this fairly difficult to deal with aura in play.
Sure.
Um, like I'm kind of surprised by Luminarch Ascension because that's it's a powerful card. I don't think I've played with it in a cube before, because it seems like a very fine card to wheel if you're like in one of the control type of decks. Uh, because in the mirror it's absurd. Like if you're playing the blue white mirror or blue white against blue black or blue red, neither deck really is really good at having an early creature to start dealing damage. And once the ascension ticks, it's game over. Um, Parallax Wave stand out for me because it's one of the most annoying cards ever. um,
Is Wing Shards in the cube?
Let me see if Wing Shards made it to this cut. It did not make the cube.
Yikes.
It's one of my favorite cards to put in the like. I always pick it, and from drafting Parnell's cube that somebody always ends up with these stupid aggressive decks, and Wing Charge is always the blowout.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
um,
I guess I actually the Skype window got screwed up again. So
oh
I kind of
no!
like to no, don't worry about it. I kind of like to talk about like about your cube draft, sort of like when you sit down a little bit more. What I guess if you're looking at these white cards, what are you thinking about? Like if you open up some of these white cards.
Well, like, say if I open land tax, um, I want to be a deck that uh, can abuse the mana. You know,
Yeah, sure.
but also like land tax does require you to play basic land. Some I've had situations where I like drafting dual lands, which we'll hopefully get to
I
eventually.
pick lands first.
Yeah,
I pick like if I see like 12 basic land or 12 dual lands in the first pack, I'll pick them and then just play whatever else I get. We
right.
were talking about like a monocolor white deck, and I think a big part of Cube is I guess we're just talking about white today, but like how they interact with other colors. Like I can see let's see, Treachery is a pretty good card.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like if you got mana tithe, you want to draft like signets or well actually the signets that are available because you want to minimize you want to
Yeah,
maximize
the land.
not missing land drops because it ends
Mhm.
up working in your favor. Um, now,
Yeah, in that case, like land tax is going to be an engine for you, and like all that engine's built for is pumping out really big, like a big something, or
right.
like some kind of like cruel ultimatum or something like that.
Or
You
cards
know,
that care about you having a large hand because you always have a large hand
sure.
when you have land tax because you just have all
Hmm.
these extra cards. So like cards like Masticores become better when you have land
Hmm.
tax. That's the type of thing I think about. Um, like if I open Revelark again, it's one of my favorite cards, so I always take it, and then I'm looking to get cards that come into creatures that come into play with enter the battlefield abilities. Um, if if I get a card like say what's like if I open a balance, then again I want to cheat somehow.
Yeah, sure.
Make sure that whenever I resolve that Like I want like creatures that have when they leave play abilities
Mhm.
and whatnot. Um,
Yeah,
uh,
the first pack for me is always about enabling just some kind of strategy. I mean, I'll very rarely pick like a bomb, even in like it's kind of like the standard format of limited, like Dark Ascension, Innistrad, Innistrad. Unless you get like a Drog Reaver or something like that. Like, I really don't want to pick a high cost creature. Like Lich is good, but those tend to really constrict your strategies a whole lot where if you pick up like a land tax or some other kind of like enabler and you spend that first pack picking things that help you get to some kind of like later game that you haven't even seen yet. If you do have like a land tax and a bunch of like crazy dual lands, you can cast Cruel Ultimatum in the same deck that you're playing as Step Links. You know what I mean?
right. Other interesting cards here. I don't know if you're familiar with Loyal Retainers.
No, I actually can't see it.
All right.
Could you drag it up
I'll
into that
just read it.
corner?
It's a 1/1 creature for 2 and a white from
Mm-hmm.
one of the portal sets. I don't remember which one, and you can sacrifice it, and returns
Mm-hmm.
target legendary creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And you
Yikes.
can only do this before attackers are declared. And it's a white reanimation card basically for a legendary creature.
Yeah, that's really
And
weird.
the fact that you can do it at any time before attackers declare means that it's an instant before attackers are declared. So it means you can do it in response to an Emrakul hitting the yard. Or well,
Sure.
I guess I don't think Emrakul is in here. It's the other Eldrazi. So, yeah, let me just super double check. But so that's an interesting. Yeah, Kozilek and Ulamog are in here, so it's possible to cheat those into play with this card. And then there's also every other freaking legend in the cube, which is
Mm.
populated with things from Kokusho, Miloku. Take your pick of just
Yeah, it was-
of just really powerful legends. So that's a card that I had to read the first
mhm.
the first time I read the list on the for the cube.
Yeah. Do you know if they're are they planning on stretching out the draft timer a little bit?
I That's a good question.
I hope so.
I, my
Because there's
guess,
gonna be a lot of reading in there.
and that's why I wanted to go through some of these weird cards for color because I'm hoping that we can get the people who watch this a little leg up if they're not familiar with cubing. Because I agree, like even whenever you sit down and play somebody else's cube for the first time, there's always a card
Yeah.
in the pack that you're like, what is this card? And then you read it and it's
Yeah.
like, oh my god, this card is ridiculous.
Right. And like the plan. The plan is like the more you get to know a cube, the more you know how they interact,
Right.
really, and that's the important part. Because like you might see like a Lingering Souls or something, and see that next to like your Eldrazi or whatever you have, the really big guy that just kills stuff by living, all that, and not really realize that there's like equipment that goes really well in those spirit tokens, or like an Honor of the Pure or something like that. All these that really build up and care about tokens, and I think that's the big advantage that you get once you get to know a cube and you get to know like all the pieces in it. It's not like, oh, this is a really powerful card. Like Force of Will is sweet, um, but once you see like maybe there's 40 counter spells in this cube, who knows? And like Force of Will might just be one of them. So when you sit down, you might not want to first pick it. Where if you're playing in a play environment where Force of Will is like one of 5 counter spells, and the targets that it can hit are just like really really good, and you can like put a blue guy in the yard or whatever, and then I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Oddly enough, the anthem effects aren't here. Neither Crusade nor Honor the Pure nor Glorious Anthem are in the list. So there
Very
aren't.
useful. So
So
yeah,
uh, Machias is though, which is
the Lunark,
yeah, Machias and Lunark. The white Machias is in here.
that's sweet.
So that makes Machias a really high pick, I think, for the white weenie deck.
Are there any proliferate?
Uh, I'm sure there are. Actually,
Did Tezzeret's Gambit make the list?